Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for joining us for our youth track. My name is Shanae Smith. My pronouns are they, she, and he. I'm a Black, queer, feminist survivor, therapist, and youth worker. I serve as the Sisters in Strength program manager at Girls for Gender Equity, which is a Brooklyn-based intergenerational organization with national influence, working to combat the widespread gender-based and racialized violence that impact young people of color. I am joined here today with Tani Ikeda and 4 amazing panelists who we will introduce shortly. Tani, I will pass the mic over to you to explain in detail some of what our process has entailed for our workshop, Liberatory Love Letters, Art Making as Resilience, Resistance, and Healing Magic. And also thinking about the ways in which we've infused our identities as survivors with arts activism and healing justice throughout our time together leading up until this point. Tani, I'll pass over to you.
Thank you, Shanae. Mediate Justice is a nonprofit that teaches girls media with a social justice lens. We believe in telling your story by any means necessary. So if you have a camera, you can film your story. If you don't have that, you have a pen and a pad, you can write your story. If you don't have that, you have a body, you can speak your story. Tell your story by any means necessary. We are so excited to partner this year with Me Too, Tarana Burke, and GGE. A little bit about this process. So when I was a young person on the anniversary of my rape, I wrote a love letter to myself. It was a whisper to keep going, to not give up just yet. I shared this message online and other survivors began writing their own love letters. Today, you will witness love letters from young survivors who are charting their journey of resilience through their poetry, letters, music, and art. I am so proud to be a part of these artists' lives and excited for the work and vision they will be sharing with you. Please welcome our first poet, Anna.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to be sharing a poem. She said that. Okay. I'm going to start now. I grew up hating myself and my body, believing I don't own it, believing it wasn't mine. I drowned myself with overflowing baggy clothes that swallowed my body whole. I continued to drown for years, wanting to breathe, but unintentionally holding my breath, feeling this pain, an excruciating pain. It wasn't that I didn't want to gasp for air. I didn't know I could. I didn't feel like I deserved that feeling of joy, that feeling when the sun hits my melanin skin, that feeling when I can say no and it's respected, that feeling when I drink a cup of cold water on a very hot day. A hot day where I drown myself in baggy clothes, hiding my invisible scars, the scars I wear on my skin, where the marks of his hands still lay. They lay there after the bruises I get from rubbing my skin too hard in the shower for hours trying to forget. Forget a part of me I wish never existed. A part of me that I look back with disgust, same disgust I get looked with. The looks of, oh, we know her type. The girl who dresses with attention. What does that even mean? I dress with love and pride and genuine care, but to you, it's attention. It's a calling to touch me, touch my body, because my self-love translates to disrespect me. Touch me without consent, because my self-love and fashion translates to slut, because a woman who enjoys her body and confidence enough to show it off and scream, hello world, get ready for me, get ready for my walk is a hoe. A woman who loves sex and the feel, oh, it's so amazing, is a whore. My confidence and firm attitude translate to playing hard to get. And I want it even when I say no. To you, my self-love translates to everything but what I mean to say. You take your own perceptions even when I say no. So I drown myself with overflowing baggy clothes. And I thought maybe, just maybe, if I hid myself, I wouldn't be seen. But in fact, everyone sees the girl with an overdressed hoodie in 95-degree weathers. Same way the cops can see me walking in a crowd of millions. Same way the news can call me a thug. Same way my mother could say my curly hair had to be fixed, so she straightened it, and my identity was washed away, but at least I looked whiter. The same weather that makes my anxiety melt across my face. Same face where there were scars of eroded paths that I crossed, crying continuously with no end. Same path that my mind forces me to walk through, and it's gotten worse. I don't only think in the night, it flowed into the day. Laughing and then getting sad, thinking about the way my body has been violated. I became a woman before I was a young lady. I became a woman by force and weird. My first encounter was never my last. My first encounter was the loudest. I was molded from an innocent child to a matured one, so I drowned myself in sexual desire. I became so driven by it. I wanted to feel control. I wanted more and more so I can know how it felt to say yes, because I became quiet by it. I wanted to feel love. My no's turned to yeses. I was in control. Nobody could have the power to take my no and turn it around, so I did it. Even when I showed I wasn't comfortable. Uncomfortable, like when I'm being taught about slavery in a history class with a white teacher, same teacher who will look at me and ask if I had any thoughts because I'm Black. Uncomfortable, like when my male teacher tells me to go to the office to get change of clothes because I'm distracting. How do my shoulders distract you? Why are you looking at my shoulders and the first thing you think of is I can't teach my class? Are my sharp collarbones bothering? Do they cut you like the stares you give cut me? Cut my confidence, cut my time in class? Same way they cut my pockets heading back home? Does it cut the bruises I get from mom for not being in school with proper attire? Are my shoulders not proper? Does that bother you? My body, me developing a certain way bother you? The way God mixed my smooth glowing skin and chiseled cheeks and jaw and shoulders fixing me to be the best perfection he could create bothers you? Does it make you uncomfortable? Am I not a child? Am I a sexual object to you? That uncomfortable. I destroyed my body, my mind, my soul. What I didn't know was energy can't be destroyed. It's turned into a different energy. So I continued to hide under my covers, not because there were monsters in my room, but because I hid so long in the dark, I became friends with them. I learned to dance with the thoughts that told me I was to blame. Stop dressing in such ways, stop appearing in such ways. I laughed with the thoughts that told me I wasn't good enough. I drowned myself in the dark while overflowing with these baggy clothes. Ironic because I'm afraid of the dark, but not when I need to be alone. I cry and I yell into my pillow like when he got on top of me and I couldn't breathe. I turn on the light. I see where the tears have dropped so heavy they mark my floor. I can see where the shadows lingered screaming at me. I can still feel my ears ringing. But now it rings with the sings in the morning. You're beautiful no matter what. And as I get dressed, showing skin, I drown myself with love and love alone.
Hi there, my name is Solange. I'll be performing 4 different poems. This first one is my survivor love letter. Dear you, you are your own best support system. I want you to remember that. You, beautiful, blooming, and bruised, are the only one who has been there through everything, from even before him, when you face a schoolyard full of wolves, when eyes like magnets follow the swish of your skirt, when hands found their way across your chest, when you didn't ask for it, when you never asked for any of this, you have been there through the darkness, through the nightmares that were really just memories of him. You were there for me when I was with him, and his breath and his chest and the way he blocked out the sun. You held me through the loneliness. Through the nights I prayed to the moon that I would wake up underwater, beautiful, blooming, and bruised. You survived this. You lived through this. When your mother stopped saying your name, when your brother grew angry from confusion, when the love of your life couldn't understand why you were crying from the sound of his belt unbuckling, you are still here. Thank you. Thank you for braving each day, for embracing the sunrise again and again. You are so beautiful. I love you with all of my heart. Love you. The second poem is called Mending. If I could tell my younger self anything, I'd tell them, you sit in the middle of the bus now. You don't press your head to the window at night. You dream of birds, of fire. You lick the wound. You take off your clothes with grace. February is just a month now, and so is October and April. In fact, you stop celebrating the anniversaries of your aches. You stop dreaming of could-have-beens. You walk down a different street. You keep the blinds open. You see a body of water as a cool, calm place instead of a place to rest, to escape from the tired and the heaviness of your heart. Your hair grows back. You get up at the crack of dawn just to greet the sun. The moon is no longer your lover, but she is a friend. Your shadow is a friend, your grief, a shroud that hangs in your closet. The darkness does not come back, even when you expect it to. This is how you live now. This is how you begin again. This is it. You are free. This next poem is called How Hard Did Aging Hit You? There was a trend last year where it was supposed to be a 10-year comparison, so that's what this poem is. When I was 14, when the spider bit, when my hair was mostly thundercloud, when I did not yet know that I was the moon, when my teeth were crooked and my breasts were straight, when my brother was alive, when I rode the bus for the first time, when the sky was the color of summer and my mother and I still lived in that house, the one with the elm tree out front, when I was young, before I found my voice, before I learned to grow a new skin, only had a thick skin before. Now I am soft underbelly. Now I am all soft. Now my hair is a river. Now I am the sunlight and the storm. The sky is the color of an ever approaching dawn, of hope, of light anew, the promise of beginnings again and again. Now I am 24 and I am celestial. I am everything. I am Venus in the sea. I am the mouth that swallows the moon. I am everything, everything. And this last one is called Personal Victories. I am awake and I am alive and I feel so light. I am the sun that dances between the leaves. I am the wind that kisses everyone's skin. Once I felt so heavy. Some days I still do. Sometimes I am sink and seep and don't swim. Sometimes I am the dark piece of the ocean. Sometimes I am a heavy rain, but today I am flicker. I am flight. I am free. I am grateful for this little place of love. I just wish I could stay here forever.
Hello, I'm Ashley. I'll be going now. Walking home from the last time I was assaulted, I wish someone would have told me that Summer Walker would be dropping an album that would speak to every part of what was going on and that I'm not alone. When she said, "Can't you see I'm trying?" I wish the person who had took advantage of my trust knew that despite the fact that I would do anything for them, it was not okay to do those things. Before I knew my connection with music, it felt like no one saw me. I felt like no one knew what it was like to be betrayed and doubted by my own inner self. Music makes me feel comfortable with uncomfortable trauma. Music makes it feel like being embarrassed is okay, but not permanent. Music turns my I don't know into I know that. I know what, sorry. The embarrassment, shame, self blame, and all of her doubt slipped away as the 3 minutes of a song became zero. Despite music being one of the most important aspects of my healing, the number one was being with the people who made me feel the most seen. After struggling with my own survivorhood alone, I felt like I could not bear another second of relying on myself for love and affection. My friends, family, coworkers, and facilitators helped me in my progress to become a better person for myself and others. In the times when my inner critic was the loudest, I would always ask myself, who really feels that way? Who is really the one who thinks that you're being dramatic and sensitive? Because usually that is not my own voice. My inner critic was not my own voice. It was the voices of the people who either didn't understand what it was like to be a survivor or people who are in denial about their own survivor identity. Thank you.
And now we will have Anna, who will be sharing her piece.
My apologies. Okay. I love you. I love when you wake up and the first thing you do is wash up and eat breakfast. You do not feel pressure to look at your phone and have to respond to anyone. You can and have your personal time every morning. I love this because you are finally giving yourself boundaries. I love the way you apply lotion on your skin after a shower. My skin is fine without moisturizing, it's not dry, but the extra step you have been taken to self-care and self-love is amazing. I love you. I love the way you can say no and not feel ashamed. You stopped being afraid to state your boundaries and now you're happier than ever. The way you would choose happiness and sleep over school and work. Nothing deserves stress. You did not deserve your breakdowns for an overpiled assignment. I love the way you find a way to balance life and adhere to yourself and yourself only. It's okay to be selfish. You have been selfless for so long. It's okay to say, no, I need my time today. I want to be left alone. No, do not touch me, my hair, my stuff. No, I do not want to talk. And it's fine to take yourself out. Self-love looks like skin masks or Netflix and ice cream. I love that you learn to forgive. I love that you learn to let go, but not forget, not because you must, but because it allows you to not let anyone have control over your life anymore. You get to wear and feel how you want, and I am extremely proud of you. What I am most proud of is you entering college. You weren't in school, very alone and ashamed and hurt and still in the middle of your journey, and you have grown to something and someone so amazing. I am proud of you for becoming your better self, your better version of you that you can be. I love you. I love me. And before I finish, I just wanted to say that I am in a year-long relationship with an amazing person. We had just passed our anniversary. And this is important because as a survivor, I had gone through a very long journey and I'm still going through a journey. And there was a time where I had spoken to him about our sexual relationship. And there was times where I didn't feel comfortable having sex, but I never had the confidence or I never felt like I can say no and it was okay to say no. And when we spoke about it, it kind of broke him. And I cried because at that moment I felt safe. I felt okay with saying, no, I don't want to have sex and everything to be okay. And I feel that's important, consent, and talking about consent with people, not only sexually, but around your family and friends. Like, no, today I cannot talk to you because I want to go to sleep. Or today I can't speak to you because I'm not in the right mental space for that. That's what my love letter is talking about. And I feel like that's important to state. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Melina, and I'm going to play a song and perform a song that I did for this panel. So it's called Self Love, and I'll play it and then I will let you know the story behind it. I was so alone, couldn't find a home, ain't have no clue. Time was moving slow, but now this life is showing me what I can do. It's a new beginning, it's a different feeling, I'm so in love. I know I can survive, I feel so alive. Feel something new. Feel of verses. It's authentic, real feelings, no rehearsing. I'm trying to find the ways to put the words in. Sometimes my mind gets caught up, but it's all for the best. I call it self-love. Let's say it again. This is the wind. I'm closing my eyes to feel it within. Feel something. Feel something new. Feel something. Feel something new. And I just really love this song. I had an amazing time writing this song, creating this song. Everything about this song is beautiful, and I feel like these lyrics worked perfectly for this because this is about the healing process and how it can be scary in the beginning, but it's something completely new. Like what Anna was talking about, or Solange or Ashley, that feeling that you feel when you realize that you love yourself again and that you are someone special and that you are someone beautiful and you deserve to love yourself like you love someone else after going through this pain and trauma. It's, it's just something different to finally not focus on the bad things and focus on the good things about yourself. When you look in the mirror, you're not walking past the mirror anymore because you don't want to see a reflection. You're like looking at yourself and you feel confident, and it's okay to love yourself the way you would love a partner or the way you love your someone that's an idol to you or anything like that. You are someone beautiful and you are someone special. And I just want this song to give everyone that confidence and for everyone to know that they are allowed to love themselves. And you are just amazing. You're amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Thank you so much, everyone. Solange, Ashley, Anna, Melina, for all sharing your beautiful gifts with us all. We do not deserve this, but you've been able to share so much of yourselves with us in a matter of only 15 minutes. So yeah, we're definitely going to have some time, have an opportunity to explore a little bit more about your process. But I'm sure the audience is wondering and wanting more information about who you are. So I'm going to read off a little bit of information about Solange, whose pronouns are they, she, he, and ze, is a queer, indigenous, Filipinx, Mescalero, Apache, Yoeme, Kalinga, Kapampangan artist, photographer, and poet currently living in Siucton, Chumash Territory, otherwise known as Santa Barbara, California. Their work focuses on the revitalization and normalization of Indigenous cultures in mainstream society, uplifting and supporting communities of color and bringing important issues to the forefront, using a mix of mediums ranging from watercolor to digital collage to slam poetry. They are first place winner in the Santa Barbara Poetry Slam and work with organizations such as Immediate Justice, Survivor Love Letter, Punk Rock Marthas, Indigenous Action, and El Centro SB. Ashley, Girls for Gender Equity Sisters in Strength alumni, is an outspoken youth organizer who guides their peers and themselves through healing. They believe in radical body acceptance and are passionate about the Black Lives Matter movement. Their hobbies include art, poetry, and dance. Anna is a recent high school graduate and youth activist from the Bronx, New York. Anna is a current youth facilitator at the Yaya Network, where she organizes community spaces for youth. She is an alumni of Girls for Gender Equity, where she has worked with other youth organizers surrounding survivorship, restorative justice, healing justice, and she has committed to her healing journey and strengthened her poetry skills by speaking out at events such as Youth Already Know, alongside her Sisters in Strength family. And most importantly, she loves turtles. Last but not least, Melina is a 19-year-old singer, songwriter, and performer based in King County. She began tapping into her artistic side at a young age through drawing and theater. And since then, has participated in many musical performances throughout her career. Melina began her independent artistic journey in 2019 with the help of the Residency organization and continues to work with Immediate Justice and Survivor Love Letter. She currently has 2 songs available and continues to work on creating new projects that will enchant listeners. Thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to be in conversation with all of you today and hear a little bit more about what brings you into this space today with us. So our first question that we're going to jump into today is wanting to get a better understanding of your pieces that you shared with us. So many of you have shared performance art pieces. There's one person who will be sharing a little bit about a visual art piece. And so I'm interested in hearing from you. What inspired these pieces that we heard and saw from you all today? And anyone can jump in at this point. We'd love to hear from all of you.
Okay, I'll go first. Hi everyone, as you know, I'm Anna. What inspired my piece today? I went through a lot of changes with my poem. My poem was, I literally was editing different times of the day throughout the week, and I don't know, it was everything. As you guys can see, I was referring to a lot of things, victim blaming, not only outside in the street, but also in school. Also talking about how the issues that we have in education, the issues I have in my household, like how my curly hair is not okay, how anytime I'm in history class, my white teacher would always look at me and ask me if I had any opinions on it because I'm Black and I'm supposed to always speak up about it. And it's like little things like that. I was referring to everything. And basically just my experience inspired it. It was just my emotions, and I was just like free writing. And then I was like taking things out and then adding things in and comparing. And so, yeah, that's what inspired me. Everything that's happened from as young as I was 10 to now. Because that was the first time I experienced sexual harassment. So yeah, that's what inspired me. Just speaking out my truth and my experience. Yeah.
Melina, would you like to share a little bit more about your process with us?
Yeah, so with the song, I explained to you guys the whole idea of the song, but the process was actually very beautiful process. So with the help of Tani in this organization, she was able to put together a nice studio session with a wonderful producer all the way from Chicago. And then here I worked with an engineer in North Seattle. And we spent a couple sessions putting that song together. We wrote everything from scratch and we put the pieces together on that song. And I feel like the whole inspiration for this was, of course, hearing stories from other survivors, but also, you know, having my own story as well. There was a time where I was going to completely give up making music and just, you know, start working and doing what I wanted to do. And I feel like this has really refreshed me a lot because, you know, art is something very, it can be intimidating and hard to make your ideas come out and, you know, to feel creative sometimes, especially when you're in a position with living with people or just around people that constantly drain you, you know, when like, especially in abusive situations. So I just feel really refreshed that I was able to, you know, start making music again, because once you know, tap back into your creative side, it helps you a lot in believing yourself again and wanting to do more and more and more. So this process was beautiful. Everything came from the heart, and it was just an amazing experience to be able to create so openly and so freely, and to also work with an engineer and producers who are dedicated to their craft as well, because also as a woman and an artist, it can be very intimidating, and there are a lot of people in the industry that you work with who don't have the best intentions for you. So to be working with people who have good intentions and pure hearts is really does something to your energy and your creative headspace.
Thank you so much, Melina. I would love to transition over to Ashley. If you can share a little bit more about what inspired your piece, and also talk a little bit more about the beautiful image that we're seeing behind you today.
So, along the lines of Melina's piece, like music was a really big eye opener for me. Like all my life, I've had this like attachment to music, but it wasn't up until last year that I really started to like really just pay attention to what I was listening to and how that impacted how I felt. And as I said in my piece, like it wasn't until I heard a certain song when I figured out like what I'm going through is common, but it's also something that I can escape and something that I can grow from. Yeah. And so that leads into the art you see behind me. During the creative process, I was really thinking about how I didn't really heal on my own. It took other people as well. Like I needed to be in a loving and very comforting environment in order to completely learn to love myself and others in the way that was the most respectful. So like the fact that I have an image of people holding hands is kind of like what it felt like. Like the amount of support that I got from everyone around me was really amazing. So yeah, I hope that gave some context to what this all is about.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And then last but not least, can we hear from you, Solange, as to what inspired your work and a little bit more about what your artistic process usually looks like?
So I did 4 pieces. The first one was my Survivor love letter that I wrote back in 2016. That one was a reminder to myself mostly, because when I first started on my self-healing journey back when I was about 16, I felt really alone, and I felt like I didn't really have a support system or anyone to go to. So I wrote this as a reminder to myself that I am my own best support system. Like I know everything that I've been through, and I will always be there for myself. It's a really huge act of self-love, especially if I feel like we go through a lot of times of self-loathing. So self-love is really revolutionary and resilient. The second poem that I wrote was also something of like a reminder of if I could tell my younger self anything, I tell them this. So that was what that poem was about. And then how hard did aging hit you? I have body dysmorphia, so I feel really uncomfortable with like posting my picture a lot of the time, which is funny because I know I'm doing this panel. But I wanted to participate in that challenge from last year. And I was trying to figure out like a good way to be comfortable in doing that. So I wrote this poem to participate. And then the last one is Personal Victories, which is also another self-reminder, because one of the things that I realized in my self-healing journey is kind of that you need to celebrate all your little victories, no matter how small, even if it's just getting up in the morning, even if it's just, you know, I took a shower today. Like these are beautiful, brilliant things to celebrate. And, you know, that's what helped me get out of some of the darker times in my life. So.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing a little bit more about your artwork and your process and what this looked like for you, not only for the Survivor love letter process and creating these pieces, but leading up until that as well. I'm really interested in talking with the audience a little bit more about some of our process as we wrote our letters, and hear from the panelists a little bit more about what that looked like. Our prompt for writing our survivor love letters was to think about one strategy of resilience we've returned to over and over again throughout our lives. These were applied to the pieces that were created and that you all saw today. Melina, can you speak a little bit more about how you were able to use art as a strategy of resilience throughout your life?
Yeah, so the way that I like to describe art is, I actually wrote it down a little bit, but my art speaks for me. And I think, and this is not just music either. Can be drawing, painting, literally anything. I think that art speaks for you. And my art is my voice. It's the way that I communicate. And I think that art represents freedom and strength because it takes strength and courage to express what you feel within and to bring that out. And it takes even more courage to express how you feel to other people, because that can be something that's very intimate and very, sacred to you. So for you to let the whole world feel what you feel, and just even having the strength and you know, the courage to say it and feel free to say what you feel inside is strength, and that's a form of resilience in itself. Because I feel like as women, we're taught to just, do what everyone else says we need to do and feel how everyone else says that we need to feel. So to have a form of expression, no matter what it means to you, whatever it means to you, and you putting it out there, that's all that matters. And anybody can interpret anything anyway, but if you're expressing how you feel inside, that's your form of resilience. And that's you expressing your freedom. That's your freedom right there. Your freedom is all of that. And I just think that making music, drawing, anything that you do through your art is resilience in itself. And all of you women here and women all around the world are so strong, so beautiful, and so courageous to, express themselves. Even just to sit there and do what everyone else does in the world, you're courageous as a woman, because we have these roles that people set for us and we are constantly breaking them.
Thank you so much, Melina. I can't wait to hear a little bit more about all that you discussed with us throughout our panel. And so for our next question for Anna, in what ways have you deepened your connection to youth activism through your particular art medium?
So can you repeat that question? I'm sorry. Can you repeat it again?
How have you deepened your connection to youth activism through your artwork, through your art medium?
Okay. So I am a youth activist. I'm also a youth organizer, and I also facilitate certain events with other coalitions. And within those events, it's easier for me to write poetry and compare my feelings to other expressions rather than speaking about it. So if I'm angry, I'll compare it to, for example, fire, pain, the dark moon. So that's coming up to mind, but little things like that, I'll just compare it to metaphors, because it's easier for me to express myself in that way, because at the moment I don't exactly know how I feel. And so yeah, so not only with poetry but also art, painting, and also so that's pretty much it. I express myself in all different types of ways, especially when I don't know how to express myself verbally. So that can look like just making beats, just making soothing sounds on my piano, in a singing bowl. And and that's all forms of healing as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much for explaining that in a little bit more detail for us. Solange and Ashley, in many ways, your work speaks directly to youth survivors and really honors the ways that creativity can be pivotal in better understanding yourself as you ebb and flow through survivorship. In what ways can art making support survivors in their journeys towards healing and liberation? Solange can go first.
So art is the most powerful form of expression. It's deeply personal, and I feel like it's the greatest way to express yourself when you don't really have the voice to do so in any other way. For me personally, I'm a visual artist, but I can't really make visual art whenever I feel really sad or depressed. So I kind of had to figure out poetry and find that for myself. So yeah, that was it for me. Poetry was the thing that really helped me work through myself. But it could be any other kind of art form. It could be music. It could be sculpture. I think that it just helps getting your own story outside of your own body. It gives that voice to it.
I like to think of art as one of those things where it's like something could be happening in your head, and in order for other people to understand, you need to get it out. And from my perspective, I feel like art or self-expression can't always be in the form of writing. I know that sometimes just scribbling on a paper, nonsense, could be a release for me. And that can go into healing simply because it doesn't look one way all the time. And I think that's how it really makes its way into art, because as some folks said before, art is subjective most of the time. So when you're doing it in the moment, it doesn't really feel like it's going anywhere. But once you're done, you look back at it, it's kind of like you are letting go of something that can push you more forward in your journey of healing and being liberated from whatever you're healing from, really.
Thank you so much. I'm thinking about this next question. I'm thinking about how the work that Anna has created, the work that Solange has created, has been super intentional in uplifting so many parts of who they are, how they move through the world, and the ways that they bridge the connections with those who look like them as youth survivors of color. How do you uplift your own identities and lived experiences in the work that you create? How does your identity show up in your artwork and in your process? And this first question can go to Anna, and then we can end with Solange.
So being an Afro-Latina, I'm very proud of. A lot of the things, like for example, I took digital engineering in school, my last year of high school, and that's basically making beats, but digitally. And not only then, I do have a piano, a singing bowl, and I'm soon getting a drum. So things like that, incorporating most of my heritage music. Awida, I don't know if people know what that is, but it's basically, it looks like, it's a lot longer, but it's made out of metal, and you make holes inside of it, so it's like bumps, and you could take a comb, and you basically grind the comb against the metal piece. So that's an example of incorporating some of my heritage into my music, and that's my identity, as well as incorporating some drums and little things like that. And that's like an example of including myself into music. And not only that, sharing my story to other people as well is uplifting my identity. And I feel like that's important, sharing your story and creating community. So yeah.
And now for Solange.
I think especially as people of color, it's really important to uplift our identities. And that plays out in my own work. I'm Indigenous as well as Filipino. So I like to represent that as much as I can because there's not that much representation out there. I don't see very many Indigenous people, especially Indigenous survivors, speaking out too much. So I feel like it's important to get our stories out there. It's beautiful. That story of survival and even thriving, that resilience is the biggest form of resistance.
Thank you so much. I really appreciated hearing about the ways that you infuse and connect your parts of who you are and your identity into your work in so many different ways. And now for our last question, last but not least. What is one thing that you would like to say to your fellow survivors who are looking to amplify their stories and voices through their art and activism? And this last question is for Ashley, and it's also for Melina. So we'll go to Ashley first.
One big thing that I want people to know, youth organizers to know, is that it doesn't have to be perfect the first time. It's never going to be perfect the first time. I remember when I first joined Sisters in Strength, like inside, I felt like I was all over the place. And then I kind of got the hang of like expressing myself through words, through art, just speaking. And it's okay to not always have the correct language to express your needs, because I didn't know there was even a term for someone who has gone through trauma and is on this continuous process to become a better person, not necessarily complete, but better. Yeah, every process is different and it doesn't have to be perfect.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And now for Melina.
So the advice that I would give to the youth and survivors as well, anyone that's, wants to get into art or doesn't know how to get started, is the first thing is, I know that it can be very intimidating, like I had said earlier with my other question, because you're dealing with so many people, especially in the art world. There's a lot of people who have been doing it for so long. You feel like you don't know where to get started or you don't know what to say. I would say the best thing that I learned is don't overthink your art and don't underestimate yourself and your power and your story. My favorite thing to say to anyone is that no one is you and you are no one else. And that's what separates you already. And that's what separates your art, because no one is you. So no one can make the art that you create. So I always say that the world deserves to hear your art, because there's 7 billion people here and you're one of them and you're unique. And I also like to tell people this: your chance of being born is 1 in 400 trillion. So you were supposed to be here. You have a journey. Trust your process. Trust yourself. Don't underestimate yourself. You're supposed to be here. You're beautiful and you're worth it.
Thank you so much for that. I love that quote. I love that perspective. We actually have a little bit more time. If Solange, if Anna would like to answer this question, you can feel free to jump in, not to put you on the spot. Only if you'd like to. What is one thing that you would like to say to fellow youth survivors who are looking to amplify their stories and voices through their art and activism?
Go for it. It's so important to get your story out there and to speak your truth, because, even if it's not for anyone else, it's for you and it'll help you in your healing journey. So do it, speak it.
I want to say that everyone's healing process is completely different. I know my healing journey was at first very bumpy. It was a lot of it was a lot of having to face your struggles and having to face what you was going through, and nothing is the same. Everyone's process is completely different, and do not feel afraid to speak up, because I know when I was going through things, I stopped continuing my healing journey because I fed into what everyone else was saying, and because everyone was discouraging me. I felt, okay, well, I can't do this because everyone else this and that. And no, my message is to keep going and fight through it. And it's okay if it takes a certain amount of time. It's not going to take a couple of days. It might take years, it might take months, and you might feel better sooner than later. And that's your personal journey. And it's okay for sometimes to stay home. I love to say this: healing can look like you're going out and dressing up. It can look like you're dressing up to stay in the house. It can look like you're in your room. You could cry. That's your healing journey. You can watch Netflix. That's your healing journey. You can stay home and eat junk food today, and then tomorrow we'll get back in your diet. That is your healing journey. and that is okay. And it is perfectly different, and it can be bumpy roads, it could be a smooth road, and that is perfectly fine. So that's my message.
I appreciate that message, Anna. It's really important to think about healing as not a linear process. It's a process that looks different for everyone. It's a process that we ebb and flow through in different points in time. So thank you for wrapping it up for us so beautifully. At this point in time, I would love to transition over back to the wonderful Tani to close us out in our event and in our space today.
Thank you so much, Shanae. You just heard from some incredible young artists who have shared their love letters and spoken about their strategies of resilience. We want to invite all of you to write your own love letters of resilience and share them with a larger community of survivors using the hashtag #SurvivorLoveLetter. So please join all of us in creating a less broken world through our art. Download our Survivor Love Letter Toolkit to learn how to write your own love letters and start a Survivor Love Letter circle with your friends. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the internet.